آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بهدي المصطفى صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Last class we stopped at hadith number 251. Hadith that was narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, which is the last hadith in chapter 28 regarding straightening the rows. Now, hadith says, حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: لو يعلم الناس ما في النداء والصف الأول ثم لم يجدوا إلا أن يستهموا عليه لاستهموا، ولو يعلمون ما في التهجير لاستبقوا إليه، ولو يعلمون ما في العتمة والصبح لأتوهما ولو حبوا. Narrated Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if the people knew the reward for pronouncing the adhan and for standing in the first row in congregational salat prayer and found no other way to get that except by drawing lots, they would draw lots. And if they knew the reward of the dhuhr afternoon prayer and the early moments of its stated time, they would race for it, go early. And if they knew the reward of Isha, late evening, and Fajr, morning prayer in congregation, they will come to offer them even if they had to crawl. See, the translation has a bunch of brackets, a bunch of parentheses that take you in and out of reading through the intended meaning of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This hadith here doesn't say anything about straightening the rows, but it speaks about the virtue of sitting in the first row, praying in the first row, whether it's standing in the first row being close to the imam as possible, or whether it's sitting in the first row waiting for the salah to commence. Hadith says, if the people knew the reward that was included, the reward that was entailed in the nida, the call, i.e. the adhan, making the adhan. Naam. The virtue of the adhan and the virtue of the muadhin, as we previously explained. Also, he says, وَالصَّفِّ الْأَوَّلِ, the first row, the first rank, which can have more than one meaning. The first meaning it could be to come to the masjid, the muadhin makes the adhan, and then to sit in the front row, form the front row, waiting for the iqamah, the virtue of that. Also, the concept of praying in the front row, which doesn't necessarily mean that you came to the masjid early. Whereas some masjids or some musallas, for some prayers, only have one row. So you could come to the masjid after the imam has made the takbir. When the imam has already made the takbir, the adhan has been given, the iqamah is about to be given, and still catch the front row. And still what? Catch the front row. Everybody clear on this? Very important. So sitting in the front row, coming and praying on the front row. What's important is forming the row, making the row straight, sitting or standing. Tayyib? Khairan inshallah. So this hadith teaches us first and foremost the excellence and the superiority of the adhan. The excellence and the superiority of the adhan. You would write, if you were in a college of hadith, if you were sitting, taking a hadith course, fihi fadilatul adhan. Fihi fadilatul adhan. In this hadith is the excellence of the adhan. I say, give me two proofs that it's a good thing to be a mu'adhin. Give me two dalils, or three or five, or one, that it is a good thing to be a mu'adhin. You would say, عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لو يعلم الناس ما في النداء إلى آخر الحديث. Everybody understand this? طيب. Another faida we take from this hadith, فيه جواز, is the permissibility of saying low, if. The permissibility of saying if. Whereas we have other hadiths, famous hadith Abi Hurairah in Sahih Muslim, and the other narrations as well, with regards to saying things pertaining to low, and the prohibition of saying low, if only, if I only did this, if only. This hadith clearly proves that it's permissible to use the word what? If. Law in Arabic. Naam. And as is explained by Hafidh bin Hajar and Fathul Bari and others, that law is of different types. Naam, different types. One type of the word law, if, is using it upon something that has already taken place and being upset, being distraught, being messed up. If I only did this. If Allah would have given me this. If I would have checked my bag before I got on the airplane. If I would have looked out the window, I could have saw them coming. That's one thing. Whereas this qadr is decreed now. Khalas, it's finished, it's over. Or another usage, talking about something, if for the future, of virtue, of excellence. Khair, inshallah, that's a long discussion, and there are many, many hadiths to prove this moving forward. It then says, وَالصَّفِّ الْأَوَّلِ, and also the virtue of the front row, the first row. That it's an excellent thing to sit on the front row and to pray on the front row. It then says, ثُمَّ لَمْ يَجِدُوا إِلَّا أَنْ يَسْتَهِمُوا عَلَيْهِ لَاسْتَهَمُوا. And the only way that they could get the front row, the only way that they could get the nida, making the adhan, making the iqamah, was to do, he says, lastahamu, coming from a sahm. And a sahm, we know, is an arrow, a sahm. So it basically means, whether you say drawing lots, pulling lots, drawing arrows, pulling straws, or as we say in our common culture, rock, paper, what? Scissors. A concept of using something natural to figure out who deserves what. You go first. No, you go first. No, you go first. No, you go first. All right, you know what? Everybody understand this? I win. I bang your scissors. Tayyib, rock, paper, scissors. Maybe, I don't know, perhaps this may be too much for the young generation today. Definitely. Some of the young brothers like, what? Apple, Android, Galaxy, what? That's technology. I have a rock, paper, scissors app on my phone. Everybody understand this? Unfortunately, this is reality. But the brothers or the sisters before the age of the technological terror, you did things natural, in a natural way. Everybody understand this? You say what? Rock, papers, what? Scissors. Shoot. Everybody clear on this? Or certain cultures overseas, they may have straws, meaning like off of a plant, a stalk, a branch, some wheat, or these quills. Who goes first? Pick a quill. You pick this quill. He picks a second. He picks a third. He got the shortest quill. You go first. Everybody understand this? Or you got the longest quill. Out of this two, this is obviously, the turkey quill is what? Longer, wild turkey quill. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear on this or not? So that's what that means. Lutfun says, lastahamu. If there were no way for them to figure out who gets on the front row except for them doing this, that's what? They would do that. Everybody clear on this or not? Coming from sahm. And the alif, the sin, and the ta come before the what? The sin, the ha, and the what? Mim. Type. Moving forward. Or type the alif and the sin, and then the ta. Type. Moving forward. It says here, lastahamu. Naam. That part of hadith teaches us another concept, Lutfi, and that is that a concept of chance is not always haram in Islam. It isn't absolutely haram to deal or do something that pertains to what? Chance. And this part of hadith deals with the issue of eating in a class. Every time I have to eat something in the hadith class. I have to have a snack. I have to. Every class. I have to. Tayyib? I'm malnourished. The shaitan whispers to me and says my stomach is empty when he's talking on the hadith. Sahih? Salih? Abdul Qawi? Unfortunately. Tayyib. With that being said, the concept of dice, the concept of backgammon, the concept of playing games of chance, are they permissible in Islam or impermissible in Islam? Whether it's an issue in which there's an actual hadith on, That's no discussion. The hadith is authentic. The meaning of it, the interpretation of it. Or an issue in which there's no hadith on. Or comparing other games of chance based off of the hadith on man la'iba bin nard. Okay, so we're not going to discuss that in detail, but just trying to show you the concept of observation and deduction, the concept of al-istinbat wal-istikhraj. It's how you take the fiqh rulings. You have 5 hadiths collectively, 1 hadith here, this hadith, extract and deduce and derive the fiqh rulings. And you always practice this skill and hone this skill. So this hadith clearly proves the Prophet ﷺ is not talking about backgammon in this hadith. He's not talking about chess. He's not talking about rolling dice. He's not talking about none of these things. But he's instructing, or not even instructing, but he's informing about what the people would do if they had to. And istiham is a type of what? A chance. Rock, paper, scissors. They don't know who you want to get. It's not necessarily involved off a skill. A rock, a pair of scissors, or a paper. It's about what? Chance. You got to do something. You can't. Everybody understand this? 2 rocks, paper, wahakadha. So this part of hadith, it shows us that it's not necessarily, this part of hadith, 101% is not necessarily looked down upon to have some issue or concept of what? Chance. We're not saying it's permissible to play backgammon and chess or haram or permissible, but we're trying to show you the piece. But moving forward. The hadith then says, وَلَوْ يَعْلَمُونَ مَا فِي التَّهْجِيرِ لَاسْتَبَقُوا إِلَيْهِ. Oh, it says لَاسْتَبَقُوا إِلَيْهِ with a fatha. And if they knew, like we just have proven about using the word low. It says at-tahjir, meaning making salat al-dhuhr early, when it comes in. And we know that the authentic sunnah teaches us is that there are certain prayers that should be made as soon as possible. And there are other prayers which should be delayed considerably. And there are other prayers which should be delayed just a little bit. And there are certain prayers that are subject to change. Subject to what? To change. Subject to change. Sometimes make it early, sometimes make it a bit later. Everybody understand this? So an example of a prayer that should be made as soon as it comes in, based off of this hadith, at-tahjir, dhuhr. And at the same time, salat al-dhuhr is a prayer that can be subject to change, such as when it's extremely hot. Al-ibrad, as we have the authentic hadith that teaches about that, about the breath of the hellfire. To delay dhuhr until the weather what? Cools down. Everybody clear on this or not? طيب. Also, the concept of salat al-asr. And that's a very long discussion. Is salat al-asr, does it come in at a certain time and then you delay it intentionally because it's sunnah? Or is the actual time for asr later on? Between the Hanafi scholars and the other madhabs. That's a long discussion. Then we have salat al-isha, for example. Is it recommended to make salat al-isha at a fixed time? Or is it recommended to make it what? Later on, in congregation. Or for somebody who's by himself, or a sister who's by herself, someone who's sick, whatever the case may be. Everybody understand this? Salat al-fajr. Is it recommended to make salat al-fajr at the earliest time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes after the adhan? People can make ghusl and people can make wudu, then come to the masjid and then pray it? Or is the fajr to be delayed a bit? Or you make the fajr early and then recite for 20 minutes or 15 minutes or 30 minutes. All of these different details can only be based off of the authentic sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and the necessary fiqh. What's important is certain prayers is recommended to make early, Maghrib. Some prayers are recommended to what? Be delayed. Everybody understand this. Whether the delaying of the salat, whether the making it in its earliest time is based off of virtue or based off of the need of the people. Everybody understand this? Very important concept here for true fiqh of salah, of jama'ah, of traveling. Man yuridillahu bi khayran yufaqihu fi din. Moving forward. Hadith then says, وَلَوْ يَعْلَمُونَ مَا فِي الْعَتَمَةِ وَالصُّبْحِ لَأَتَوْهُمَا وَلَوْ حَبْوًا. And if the people knew, لَوْ يَعْلَمُونَ مَا, it says ma. What is included? It doesn't mention the reward, the forgiveness. Focus, Abdul Wadud. It says what is in these two prayers. They would come to them even if they had to what? Crawl. Which clearly proves the extreme virtue of these two prayers, and what's meant by these two prayers is in congregation. Because there's no need to come to something if you're in your house or your shop. So this proves is that there is congregation, it is jama'ah. Everybody understand this? Tight, moving forward. New chapter, chapter number 29. It says here, باب أمر النساء المصليات وراء الرجال أن لا يرفعن رؤوسهن من السجود حتى يرفع الرجال. Chapter 29 says, ordering those praying women who pray behind the men not to precede men in lifting their heads from prostration. Ordering those praying women who pray behind the men not to precede men in lifting their heads from prostration. I.e., the chapter heading means fi hal al-jama'a, in congregation. In what? Congregation. I.e., this chapter heading shows us that we're going to study and learn that is from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ for men and women to pray in congregation. For men and women to what? Pray in congregation. So no one can come and say, no culture, no fatwa, no madhab, no this sheikh's bayan and this sheikh's kitaba and this and that, and say that men and women should never ever pray in congregation. Everybody understand this or not? Anyone, any person, any view. Clear on that? Secondly, the concept also shows us, Lutfi, that the men and women doesn't say they should, doesn't say that they have to, but it proves that it's permissible and lawful for them to pray in the same room as men. In the same room. And that a partition, a wall, a building is not what? Required. Maybe necessary in certain times, certain places, but it's not something that you have to do. And it's haram to have women behind you. You can't. Women have to be totally secluded. 101%. They're not to see the men not. Everybody understand or not? And what's meant by this chapter heading is, as we'll read, Bidnillahi ta'ala, is it shows focus and concentration. Knowledge does not come easily. It shows what? Or what's meant by this is for women not to raise their heads until the men are sitting, so the women will not see the aura of men. So they will not see the parts of men. Whereas the Sahaba, when they prayed, they didn't necessarily wear pants. They didn't necessarily wear thobes or a qamis, a shalwar qamis or izar that was like how we wear today. Rather, if they had on an izar, they had on some type of qamis, they had on some type of jubba or this or that, so on and so forth, perhaps their private areas would be exposed. The clothing of today, people wearing underwear, everybody understand this? And things like this. Wasn't always like that in the past. Everybody clear on this or not? Your brother has on a thobe, pants, and underwear. Wasn't always what? Like that. Wasn't always like that. So the Prophet ﷺ, he did not want the women to see by accident, intentionally, shaitan, accident, anything that was unbefitting for them to what? To see. That's what's meant by this chapter heading. That's what's meant by this tabweeb. Everybody clear on this or not? Tight. Hadith 252. حديث سهل بن سعد رضي الله عنه قال كان رجال يصلون مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عاقدي أزرهم على أعناقهم كهيئة الصبيان ويقال للنساء لا ترفعن رؤوسكن حتى يستوي الرجال جلوسا. Hadith 252 narrated Sahal ibn Sa'ad رضي الله عنه. The men used to offer salah, which has to be translated salih, prayer, with the Prophet ﷺ with their izar, lower half body cover sheets, tied around their necks as boys used to do. Therefore, the Prophet ﷺ told the women not to raise their heads from prostration till men sat down straight while praying. Where else would they be, Salih? Except for what? Everybody understand this? Right. So, Sahal radiallahu anhu, he's informing us of the fashion of some of the Sahaba, the style of some of the Sahaba, and how they would cover themselves, and what type of uzr they would wear, what type of izars they would wear. Everybody understand this? Yeah. And because they wore this type of izar, and we see here in this narration, the Prophet ﷺ did not tell them to change it or to fix it. He let them wear those garments in this narration. And it said for the women not to do something or to do something. Maybe that was the only izars that they had. They were poor, etc. Everybody understand this? So now, as far as America or Canada, then many masjids that you go in, I don't know if I can say most, definitely not all, but many, maybe even most, women pray in a totally different room or building. Sometimes not just a partition or wall, but actual different what? Building, which is separate from the men above, below, and the list goes on. Now, first question is not is that permissible? Is that haram? Because we spoke on this before, I believe. The concept is the danger for a person to say that how the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba prayed with the women can't be done today in 2018. It can't be done. Because there's fitna, there's phones, there's fasad, there's widespread corruption, which there is, no doubt. The people's values have become totally degenerate, most, not all, most. Sexual perversion, sickness, free mixing, the list goes on. Tight. So when we start using our minds and saying it's not enough, we have to make extra, we have to make precaution, which sometimes that's true in Islam. But obviously that is a very slippery slope, because that opens up the doors for all other things that we have to do more or extra, or even less. That was in the Prophet's time in which they had to do this. Not now. It's different. It's different now. Everybody understand this? There's the United Nations. The Jews and the Christians are not like how they were in the past. It's different. We have nations. We have borders. We have security. We have world government. It's not the same. So therefore, it's not mandatory with the hadith that says to do this and to say this and don't reply. La. Or hijab. You don't have to wear the hijab anymore. Or traveling without a mahram. Growing your beard, and the list goes on of problems that you now open up once you take this mantiq, this reason of it's not enough, it's not good enough, we live in different times, it's dangerous. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear? It's not how dangerous that what? That is. Also, it can become extremely hypocritical when the people stick directly to the T, to many different textual evidences, which you're not saying is a bad thing. But then comes the other evidences, then they have interpretation of fiqh as a deeper meaning, the ulama say, the people of knowledge say, the fuqaha say, yani kada kada kada. So if your understanding of jurisprudence is a blend, the text, the wisdoms, the hikmah, the fahm, that's one thing, la ba's. But if you're promoting and pushing and imposing that it's just like this to the text, no, the text says that's it. And then another issue here, then that's going to be problematic, because it's going to form some contradiction now. Everybody understand this? So that shows us that the asal is the sunnah, the hadith, the outward apparent wordings, but it doesn't mean that they're bare from their wisdoms and the wisdoms of tashri', the reason, the wisdom, the purpose behind it. And it doesn't mean that it's bare from the understanding of the sahaba and the tabi'een and the early ulama. And the ulama to this day, it doesn't mean that. But we make a default. And we don't go against the default unless there is a specific reason. Everybody understand this? And also balance. Balance. Everybody understand this? And also when a person is extremely aggressive in one issue, extremely aggressive in imposing, and then another issue, that's problematic. Everybody understand that's extremely problematic. So it's a bid'ah to do this, to use the microphone. It's a bid'ah, you can't have this in the masjid, that in the masjid. The sadaqah box is a bid'ah, the camera is a bid'ah, this is wrong, that's haram, you can't have that. Play it. But the women are in a different building. Because of men's eyes and men's gazes, it's a fitna. Slow down, brother. You've just contradicted yourself. Everybody understand this? The Prophet, he raised money in the masjid. There was no need for a sadaqah box. Sahih, labas. And there's also no need for the women to be what? Secluded. Everybody, no, it's different. What's different? It's 2017. The men look at women, women look at men. Okay, type. Then also, let's put a what? Sadaqah box. Because everyone doesn't have the ability to get. It's a contradiction now. And there are many other examples. It's not just specific about Sadaqah box. That's just an example that came to my head. So don't misunderstand me thinking that I'm talking about just that issue, or speaking about a scholar or the scholars who held that issue of our current time. Khairan, inshallah. Point proven or not. The Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba had to they prayed with one musalla. No matter how small the musalla was, they could have put a partition or a curtain, but they what? They did not. Everybody understand this? And it doesn't mean that we're calling for the people to be mixed and for people to laugh and to joke and to sit and talk with each other and see each other. The men see the women, women see the men. But we're trying to prove a legal point here, which is very important and dangerous, and many other issues can be compared what? To this one. This hadith also teaches us the importance of lowering the gaze and the danger of not lowering the gaze. The importance of lowering the gaze and the danger of not lowering the gaze. That doesn't mean that when it's permissible for you to look at the opposite sex, or when it's permissible to look at the same sex, like going to the doctors, or looking at your brother, smiling at your brother in his face, whatever the case may be, seeing your brother's arms. You go somewhere, you go on a road trip with a brother, you sleep in a hotel, he goes to sleep, he puts on his pajamas after he made a salah, inshallah, and he has on an A shirt or a muscle shirt or a t-shirt, or his head is uncovered. The permissible thing in which you're allowed to look at of the same sex and the what? Opposite sex. Buying something from someone buying something from you, someone speaking to you. You see what I'm saying? To ask you a question doesn't mean you stare down a person's throat, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your head has to be on the ground. There's a fiqh to that. But it teaches us the asl of the importance of lowering the gaze. And also shows us the importance or the danger of not lowering the gaze and seeing something accidentally, let alone how we live today. Allahu musta'an. And when you look at something and you see something intentionally, everybody understand this? And how it's dangerous. Now, the hadith about lowering the gaze, the ayat, that's a long lecture in itself about the importance, the necessity, and the ruling of lowering the gaze and the danger of not doing so. I believe it was a year ago, Nafis, maybe, or the year before then, maybe we were in Canada. We did the lecture about the lowering of the gaze, talking about the conference that they had, the Abu Huraira Center, with regards to the different challenges, the modern 21st century, and we're talking about the sexual issues, parents dealing with their children, and also the different problems, temptation, sex, etc. I read the kalam of Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, with regards to the main benefits. I believe there were 10 of lowering the gaze. The thamarat, he said, the fruits of lowering the gaze. Now, and how Allah Azza wa Jalla will bless the slave with this, with that, and the different benefits that you get from lowering your gaze. And we spoke on how the eyes are the gateway to the what? To the soul. And if you read and you study the history of the eyes, or let's talk about the ayn, Khalid, and Nafis as well. We talk about ayn. If you study ayn, this is serious, not a joke. If you study the concept of ayn, of evil eye, or nazar, or nazar, you'd be shocked that you find it in most, my humble research, if not all cultures. They unanimously agreed on the concept of the eye. You'd be shocked. And he talk about most of those cultures, and all of them, one general point, the powers supernatural that can be put in one's eye. And how the eye is the gateway to the what? To the soul. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he spoke on this issue in which he said that Allah Azza wa Jal, he said, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ. Tell the believing men to lower their gaze. Tayyib. Moving forward to the next ayah, Allah says, وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ. And tell the believing women to lower their gaze. Then Allah Azza wa Jal, he speaks about them not manifesting their beauty, not displaying their charms, except husband, father, and this goes on. Allah mentions the maharim. Then after he talks about those wisdoms, those rulings, Allah mentions Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Mathalu nurihi. Allah says that Allah is the light of the heavens and earth. And then Allah says the similitude in the parable of his light, etc. to those verses. So Ibn Qayyim, he says that Allah Azza wa Jal, he revealed these ayat in this order, in this purpose. It's like this in his book for wisdom. And that is to show that when a person lowers the gaze, he achieves some of that nur. Similar to the concept of what you look at, what you see, what you watch, and how it has an effect on your heart and your mind, even when you grow up. Now we talk about psychology, the modern schools of psychology, psychologists, mental health, mental illness, and the list goes on. That is based off of what? That. Why do you like driving so much? You love to drive with a dude. Something that you saw when you were younger. Something that you were exposed to when you were younger. Why is a person so brutal and aggressive and this and that? Why is a person soft mannered? Why does a person love knowledge? Why do you love books so much? Why do you love... This is a reality of psychology. Something that you saw or something that you were exposed to when you were what? Young. Everybody understand this? This is not the only aspect of psychology. It's much, much more, nor am I expert in this. For my little bit of reading in it, this is one of the main parts of it. They said everything you do when you're older is based off of what? Something. And it's not absolutely that far-fetched. Because the eyes, the gateway to what's inside. Something that you see. And that's why Allah Azza wa Jalla told us to lower the gaze. And also the rulings in Surah An-Nur as well, towards the end of the surah, about children. And when they grow older, and when they reach puberty, when they become adolescents, not entering upon your room, knocking, seeking permission, the times not to come in, for them not to see something. And now today in our modern culture, we have PG-13. We have rated R. We have this, sexually explicit. If you're under 18, this movie is for juniors. Everybody understand this? Because young people aren't supposed to see what? Certain things at that age, where can have a detrimental and totally dilapidating effect on the child before they're old enough to really plan and make proper decisions. Everybody understand this or not? There's wisdom in that. Everybody understand this? There's what? Wisdom's in that. Everybody clear on this or not? Tayyib. So that's from the fawaid we get from this hadith. And the fawaid from this hadith also shows us, as we previously said, that women in the time of the Prophet prayed in the masjid. Now we're going to get into the next chapter, which is going to be a major struggle with regards to the culture, the madhabs, and the list goes on. Moving forward, chapter 30. باب خروج النساء إلى المساجد إذا لم يترتب عليه فتنة وأنها لا تخرج مطيبة. حديث ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال: إذا استأذنت امرأة أحدكم إلى المسجد فلا يمنعها. حديث ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما قال: كانت امرأة لعمر تشهد صلاة الصبح والعشاء في الجماعة في المسجد، فقيل لها: لم تخرجين وقد تعلمين أن عمر يكره ذلك ويغار؟ قالت: وما يمنعه أن ينهاني؟ قال: يمنعه قول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: لا تمنعوا إماء الله مساجد الله. حديث عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت: لو أدرك رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ما أحدث النساء لمنعهن المساجد كما منعت بني إسرائيل أو كما منعت نساء بني إسرائيل. Hadith or chapter 30 says, the going of women to the mosques, if it does not lead to fitna, trial or an affliction, etc. And a lady should not come out scented. And a lady should not come out scented. It says, Babu khuruj an-nisa ila al-masajid. It says, women going out to the masjids. I.e., يعني باب جوازي خروج النساء إلى المساجد والجوامع. The permissibility of women going to mosques. The permissibility of a woman going to the mosque. Is it mandatory? La. Recommended? Perhaps, maybe. But at least, for sure, it's permissible. Bishart, with the condition, is that لم يترتب عليه فتنة. That there's no fitna. There's no what? Fitna. Of her being attacked, raped or molested, bothered and pestered. I.e., her mixing with men, the impermissible type of mixing. What she's wearing, how she's talking, how she's walking. As the ulama of Islam, they say that switching in public is from tabarruj. For a woman to switch and to walk in a sexy manner is tabarruj. Even if she's wearing all black, if she's wearing a full abaya, if she walks in a certain way, that's from tabarruj. So how she's walking, how she's talking, how she's behaving. And then it specifically mentions وَأَنَّهَا لَا تَخْرُجُ مُطَيِّبًا. She's not to leave the house, mutatayyiba, muta'attira. She's not to leave the house scented, i.e. with perfume. Or the old school, the puff squeeze ball thingy, the old fashioned cologne perfume. Everybody understand this? Tayyib, however you put it on. Pour it on yourself, whatever. Al-Muhim is a woman is not to leave the house to go to Allah's house to make ibadah with perfume on. Everybody understand this? So this chapter Hadith is telling us that it is permissible for women to go to the masjid no matter what the husband says or thinks or feels initially. The imam says or thinks or feels initially with conditions. With what? With conditions. With what? With conditions. And those conditions are that there's no fitna for her or for them. Everybody understand this? Whatever it is, there is no one definition of fitna. It's universal. A sister could go to the masjid and let's say, for example, that she doesn't wear the niqab, she doesn't cover her face, she doesn't wear burqa. And she's extremely beautiful, gorgeous. And when she walks by, she's not looking and staring at them. She lowers her gaze, but she's so pretty. It's a fitna for the brothers going to the masjid, in which her beauty is gleaming. Everybody understand this? It's a fitna. And the brothers get distracted, subhanAllah, just by walking to the masjid. Or a fitna for her, because she's so pretty and gorgeous that she feels a certain way, temptation, or she starts to become conceited or arrogant, or whatever the case may be, a fitna. Or because of her perfume, she puts on perfume, sweet smelling perfume, or her clothes, or her high heel shoes, or her wedges that she's wearing, or her tight pants, or the khimar wrapped around her neck, and lipstick and lip gloss and makeup, or her tunic top makeshift, whatever it's supposed to be hijab, which in actuality is not a what? It's not a hijab, and it's shameful for a man to have a more hijab than a woman, which you may find at many masjids, conferences, classes, colleges. A man is more covered more than a what? A woman. He has on a thobe, he has on a shalwar kameez, his head is covered, and the sister just has on some pants, loose, medium, a little loose, or a longer dress, but the fabric, the transparency, the perfume, or the top is tight, or a belt around the waist. I have to wear a belt around the waist, which clearly shows you how slim my waist is, the shape of my hips and my legs and everything else, and also lifts up what's up top. All of these, there's no one definition of what is a fitna. These all things are prohibited and they're hated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everybody understand this? But if that's not the case, if a sister wearing a proper hijab, it doesn't mean it's one style of hijab, a Saudi hijab, a head abaya, the Somali khimar. That's the only hijab. The one brother said. He said, if it's not the Somali hijab, then it's not the Sunnah hijab. Or the Egyptian hijab, whatever. A burqa, whatever style it is. What's important is the hijab that fulfills the necessary standards and conditions. And she is not wearing perfume. That does not mean that she cannot put on antiperspirant or deodorant in the house, even if it has a scent. Nor does it mean that she can't put on lotion or shampoo or soap or bath crystals inside of the house. It's a difference. Body spray in the house, something that keeps the body smelling well, prevents a person smelling in a way in which they don't want to smell. We don't get into conspiracy theory about deodorant and about antiperspirant deodorant. It causes cancer. We don't want to get into that right now. We don't know. We have different people who watch. Some say deodorant is bad for you. Your body is supposed to sweat. Everybody understand this? That's a movement. Just like vegan food, it's reality. Okay? Or those who don't go that far, they may say it's a mistake. Let's ask you a question. When is a good time to put on deodorant? When should you put on deodorant? Yes. After you take a shower.
After I take a shower.
Okay. That's what I'm asking you, not me.
After I take a shower personally.
Okay.
I put my stuff on.
My
body's dry. Then I put the deodorant.
All right, you put on deodorant when your body is dry. Tight. Lutfi. When do you put on deodorant? Or when is the best time to put on deodorant? After you shower. Tight. After the Raqib. No doubt, right? Salih. In the morning. Abdul Raqib. Abdul Qawi.
Right after I dry it off.
Right after you dry off. Tahir. If you read the back of the label or the label on the back, the best time to put on the shower and the most effective time is before you go to sleep at night. Yeah, research it. Before you go to sleep at night. They say that's the most effective time of using deodorant for it to work its magic. Whether it's to keep you from sweating or keep your underarms smelling al-muhim. Just read about it yourself. This goes to show you. Now, I'm not saying that's correct. I'm telling you what the company, the people themselves, they say. The ulama of deodorant. They themselves will make it. Everybody understand this? Sheikh Degree, that's right. Brute, Tom's, natural, etc. Right? Everybody understand this? Ladies' secret. Hey, brother, that's your personal business. What's important is, Sheikh Degree, that was the best one so far. What's important is that this goes to show, if that's true, and Allah knows best, if that is true, then it goes to show you the power and the effect of the mind. When you think this is the best time to do it because I'm out of the shower, I'm getting dressed, and then when your mind becomes conditioned, that it only makes sense. I'm out the shower, I washed up, I dried off now, put on a degree. Or the right guard, right? Mitchum or whatever. Old Spice, Arm & Hammer. Tayyib. And the list goes what? Goes on. Old Spice. You get a point for that one. That's old school. So the point is that it goes to show you how the mind conditions you. And when a person thinks this is the way, it makes total sense because your vision is already conditioned. Right, moving forward, no more of that. What's important is, sister asked this question once, is it permissible for a sister to wear scented deodorant or even, to put on body spray in the house? You have to look at, when you put on deodorant, what are the chances of you going outside and someone smelling your deodorant? Everybody understand this? Or lotion. Now, there's certain lotions that you may put on that are very, very strong and aromatic. Or the amount of lotion. Everybody understand this? But it doesn't mean that a sister can't put on lotion, deodorant, or even, I said, body spray, certain feminine sprays in the house. After the shower, before, whatever the case may be. She's dried off, she's dressed, she leaves her home. It's not the same as her putting on. Now, a person can argue and say, well, a sister, she can, with the sound effects, and it can still go away, but it's not the same. For two reasons. First reason is, most people put on deodorant so they can smell sweet. I mean, not deodorant, the perfume. The deodorant is not like that, but it's more of a mental thing. Perspiration, smell, insecurity. Well, I get that. It's not the same as, it's a difference. We can agree on that or not? No, number two, the nature of the deodorant or the notion is not like the nature of the Everybody understand this? Everybody clear on this or not? Let alone the fact if you put it actually on your clothes. So it's a difference here. It's a what? It's a difference. And the hadith does not mean that a woman cannot go outside, whether she's going to work or school or to the masjid, and she can't have nothing on her body of scent. Everybody understand this or not? Also, the concept of if she's going outside with perfume and she's not going to come into contact with men. Hypothetically speaking, a sister is driving somewhere. There's 3 other sisters with her. They put on perfume. For example, they go from the car to the front door of the house of the sister where they're going for the party, the walima, the aqiqah, henna party, wherever they're going, or a class. It's a sister's halaqah. And they feel confident they're only going to come in contact with what? Sisters, from door to door. Different story. Now, there's the car being stopped by the police, them getting caught into an accident in traffic, something that's, you got to stop. That's possible. But we're talking about hypothetically speaking. What's important is that the woman knows or she feels highly confident that she's going to come in contact with a man who isn't a mahram. This is where this applies. Everybody understand this? And it's also teaching us common sense. Why would you go to the place in which you're trying to purify yourself with the means of fitna and attraction? Everybody understand this? You go to the masjid to get sins off of you and to get good deeds on you. Now, one may ask, or one may say, فَإِنْ قِيلَ, if someone says, well, how can men get to wear oil? Men get to wear oud and white musk. Put white musk on your hand at the conference. Tayyib. Spray you with oud spray. Old Spice. Some brothers, mashallah, they like to wear nice shoes, Old Spice. Why can't women smell nice? The perfume of men, is that not a fitna for women? Do women not love how a man smells with cologne does not drive them wild, so on and so forth. One may say this. One may what? He may say this. And there are two main answers to this. The first is, first and foremost, I'm speaking for myself, I don't make the rules. I follow the rules. Inshallah. And the same should apply to all of us. We don't make the sharia. Number two, and I have a third answer to it. The second answer is, perhaps the nature of a man's oil, how it was then, is different than how it is now, in which the oil has become 101% totally commercialized and industrialized. And certain oils that smell sweet, and certain smells that are so attractive. But that's not really a strong answer like that. Because there are narrations, the Prophet talks about musk, selling musk. Aisha radiallahu anha, she says, I will put the tayyib on the Messenger of Allah before his ihram. And when he came out of the ihram, it says, فَيَنْدَخُ طِيبًا, and it will be aroma. So that's not necessarily that strong. Thirdly is, we live in the age, Adam, the problematic age of everything has to be logical, everything has to be explained, everything has to suit what's politically correct, and men and women are 101% equal. That's the age in which we live, unfortunately. What does this hadith mean? Women are deficient in intellect and religion. What does this hadith mean? What does the Quran say when it says beat your wives? How can a woman have to seek permission? A woman. That's how we live, in which everything is what? Equal. So if men can wear oil and women can't wear oil, then that's automatically unfair and unjust. This is the pit that we've dug for ourselves. We've dug our own graves, living in Western countries, loving and befriending the kuffar, fearing the kuffar, begging the kuffar, having the kuffar be the ones who develop our natural resources. The kuffar armies protecting us. And the list goes on and go too far, no political issues. But it's a reality. So we become totally dependent on the kuffar for everything. When we get sick, we go to the kuffar countries to get cured. We want education and advancement, we send our children to the Western countries. And obviously, I'm from America. I'm speaking as if I'm living in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia or Yemen, or wherever I come from, Jordan, Egypt, wherever. So we live in America, we go to Canada, we do this. Everything, our whole lives is surrounded around the what? The kuffar. So obviously, there's something that's problematic or politically incorrect. There lies no doubt. We may not necessarily change the interpretation, but we're going to consider what we say when we say it. Well, that's a must. You have to. And then we get into the other problematic issue of dawah in America, dawah in the MSAs, dawah in college. The brother came up to me at the conference the other day. He said, I want to talk to you about what happened at the college when the sister asked about the concubine and the sex slave, and there was a catastrophe, so on and so on and so forth. I humbly told the brother, said, first of all, it wasn't a catastrophe, it was a victory. There's no such thing as a catastrophe if you call into the truth. Even if someone goes against you or does something that's rough or something that's embarrassing, it's still a victory at the end of the day because the haqq will manifest. The haqq will what? Manifest. As we said on the stage with Nafis, knowledge reigns supreme over nearly what? Everyone. You figure that out. Everybody understand this? What that means. What's important is, after that thing happened at the college, Hunter College, do you know how many people contacted me, called me, texted me, emailed me, came to see me? Do you know how many people watched the video, listened to the video, heard the video? Do you know how many people commented on the video? So it wasn't a catastrophe, but in actuality it was a what? It was a victory because the truth was spread. And the people got the chance, the opportunity to ask more questions about the issue. And as I told the brother, I said, first and foremost, I wasn't there debating about my position. I have no position on something that's in the Quran. Well, what is wrong with you? And what's wrong with her? What is wrong with them? I don't make up the what? We just follow them. Everybody understand this? However, do you think the interpretation, or not even interpretation, the ruling of jihad, or al-wala wal-bara, or concubinage, do you think these things will be interpreted the way they are now if things were different 100, 200, 300 years ago, in which the Muslims lived in their own lands, had their own armies, had their own resources, had their own medical development? Do you think it will be the same, Salih? Of course it wouldn't. Because there's no need to twist and to bend and to what? Water it down unless you're trying to appease someone and make it acceptable and appealing to someone. So this is one of the huge problems of today, of the concept of Muslims living as minorities, Muslims living as majorities, but the kuffar protect them, take care of them, look after them. They tell them what to do. They dictate policy, political, do this. Put him president, take him out. Put this person as king, get rid of this one. It's unfortunate. That's a musibah. Unfortunately, it has befell us, the Muslims today. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. طيب, moving forward. So the concept of a man wearing perfume or cologne and a woman not wearing perfume and cologne is the rulings of Allah Azza wa Jal and His Messenger. Moving forward. It says here, Hadith 253, narrated Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma. And why doesn't it say bin Umar? It's an inconsistency in the translation style. Whenever it is Abdullah ibn Umar, we always find in English it says Abdullah ibn Umar, correct? But if Sahal or this one, it say bin Umar, bin Sa'd, bin. Everybody understand this? No.
We good here.
Are you sure? You willing to go in there with the Nutfi? Jazakallah khairan. Tahir, moving forward. It says, narrated Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, the Prophet ﷺ said, if the wife of any one of you asks permission to go to the mosque, he should not forbid her. فَلَا يَمْنَعْهَا. Hadith 254, narrated Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, one of the wives of Umar bin al-Khattab. Tayyib used to offer the Fajr and Isha in congregation in the mosque. She would ask why she had come out for the prayer, as she knew that Umar disliked it and he has great ghira. It says here, self-respect. She replied, what prevents him from stopping me from this act? The other replied, the statement of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do not stop Allah's ima, women slaves, from going. What's the purpose of that word being in the English translation? What is the tangible benefit for the English reader? You have to say ima. Why not just put Allah's female servants? Everybody understand? What's the tangible reason of that? What being in what? In the translation, and adding an unnecessary parentheses or bracket. Everybody understand this? It says, do not stop Allah's ima, women slaves, from going to Allah's mosques. Prevents him. Last but not least, Hadith 255, narrated Aisha radiallahu anha. Had Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam known what the women were doing, he would have forbidden them from going to the mosque, as the women of Bani Israel were forbidden. Hadith 253, 254, 255, specifically the first two, show us the general ruling, the general fiqh ruling, is that it's permissible for women to go to the what? To the mosque. Now, that's clear. However, none of these three hadiths say anything about fitna, nor do they say anything about what? Perfume. Why is it like this? Once more, as we explained hundreds of times, the chapter heading is coming from Nawawi, and we're not saying this is incorrect, but he's given the chapter heading with a broad scope. What the hadiths are in Sahih Muslim and Sunan Abi Dawood, Musnad Ahmed, let alone Shafi'i madhab. So these three narrations have nothing to do with perfume. They say anything about what? Perfume, period. Pay close attention. It says nothing about what? Perfume. Nor the three hadiths in this chapter say anything about fitna. Everybody understand this? That explanation and interpretation is coming from what? External sources. In Nawawi's head when he makes the chapter. And then Muhammad Fuad Abdul Baqi rahimahullah took all the chapter headings from Sahih Muslim. Everybody understand this? Obviously this is not mentioned in the introduction or the preface. Yeah. Right. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear this or not? Right. So, the three hadiths, they teach us what? What's the main fiqh ruling? The permissibility for women to go to the mosques. Number one. Number two, the first narration shows us the impermissibility of preventing your wife from going to the mosque. It says, فَلَا يَمْنَعْهَا. That's what we take from the hadith organically. Number three, those are the main two rulings. Where does the concept of perfume come from? That comes from other narrations, which we're not going to mention right now, which are not found in the Sahihain. And as we also explained before, for the Tulab al-Ilm, in English and in Arabic, whatever level of student of knowledge you are or aspiring to be, studying the hadiths from Bukhari and Muslim is an excellent starting place. And it's an excellent ending place and finishing place, but it is on no account sufficient for everything. We've explained this because all hadiths about the rulings cannot just be found in what? Bukhari and Muslim. So that goes to show you the weakness of those who say, you know what, it's so much controversy. This hadith, Sahih, Da'if, Albani, Fulan, Imam Ahmad, Ibn Jawzi, Just say Sahihain. That's false. That's what? That's false. And it's insufficient. Everybody understand this? These hadiths don't say anything about what? Perfume or fitna. Everybody clear on this or not? Tight. Are there hadiths about perfume? Without a question. Without a question, but not in the Sahihain. Everybody understand this? The concept of fitna is not mentioned here in the Sahihain. That's extracted from other verses from the Quran. Other hadith, let alone common what? Sense. Now one may say, well, what about a man going to the masjid? He shouldn't go to the masjid, or he shouldn't be allowed to go to the masjid if there's fitna. We say, without a doubt. But the fitna of a man is not like the fitna of a woman. The nature of a man is not like the nature of a woman. Everybody understand this? The women have desires and temptations without question. Without a question. But the general rule that most people can agree on is that of a woman is a bit different. Let alone the nature of the man and the woman and their responsibilities, their status. And that's very problematic as well. The concept of feminism, the surging tide of this movement, of that movement, all of these things, whether we know it or not, whether we realize it or not, or whether we acknowledge it or not, have had an effect on our tasawwur, our conceptualization of life. There's no doubt about that. Everybody, there's no what? Starting first and foremost with the issue of polygamy. It's unfair. How can you have more than one wife? Let me have another husband. Everybody understand this? And the list goes on. Why can't a woman be any man? Why can't a woman be this? Why can't a woman be that? Everybody understand this? We said the natural nature of the what? Of the body, of the mind, of the spirit. And even some non-Muslims, many of them who acknowledge this. They say men are from what planet? And women are from what? Venus. Totally polar opposites mentally and spirit. Everybody see the point we're trying to get to? So how can you say that they are exact? And that's we have to be careful of this. Right. Moving forward. Hadith clearly says, now listen carefully to this hadith, and perhaps we'll suffice ourselves with this tonight. It says here, hadith 253, is that إِذَا اسْتَأْذَنَتْ. It says when a woman makes istidhan, when she seeks permission. Can I go to the mosque? Zoj. Can I go to the mosque? Maybe your wife may call you by your first name, depending on your relationship with your wife, depending if your wife is upset with you. When she's in a good mood, she calls you honey. When she's in a bad mood, she calls you by your first name, Adam. Not all women are like this, but this is well known. Am I making this up, Shaykh Khan?
Definitely.
Tayyib, she says Adam. Not Adam, in Arabic, Adam, like in English. Can I go outside? Everybody understand this? She says, yeah, Adam. She says it with the fusha. It means she's what? Radiyatuna. She's pleased with you. Everybody understand? She calls you by your kunya, Abu Naila. It's not the same as Nafis. Let alone calling you this, that. Everyone of affectionate terms. What's important is, she says, can I go to the masjid? She seeks your what? Your idhin. You say, bi-idhnillah. She seeks your idhin. Tayyib? The Prophet says, فَلَا يَمْنَعْهَا. Don't stop her. So, due to the fact that we have two different things now, two different issues in this hadith, pay close attention. The first issue is seeking permission. When you seek permission, what does that prove? Respect and authority. Tayyib, authority and or it's one. Allahu Akbar. You remember that you get married, huh? He said there's one captain to this ship. It sounds good now, huh? Inshallah, huh? Tayyib. Your wife says, sure. There's what? One captain of the ship. Sahih. Tayyib. Khair, inshallah. What else does this prove? The wife has to obey the husband. Getting closer. You remember the game, hot potato, cold potato? You're looking for something. You remember, anybody remember this game? You guys, man, it make me feel like an old man. No, hot potato, cold potato. You look for something, you say, getting hotter, getting hotter, getting hotter, getting colder, getting colder. Maybe we have the hot potato, cold potato on the what? The app. Allahumma musta'an. Tayyib. Hot potato, cold potato. Salih is not 100% right yet, but he's getting what? He's getting warmer than the other answers. It's something else. Fadl, Adam. She's supposed to be in the house. That's from that, because she's asking to go out. The asl is that she's in the house. Tayyib. There's something else though. Hada huwa. He has the right. You say hot potato, you found it. Tayyib, or you feel him, huh? Tayyib, he has the right to do what? To tell her no. Due to the sheer fact that you seek permission. Can I come in? Meaning I have the ability to do what? No. Everybody clear on this? Even though some brothers, they maybe just barge in your house anyway. Everybody understand this? Tayyib? Everybody clear on this or not? Can I get some? Can I get some of that? I can say what? No. Everybody understand this? So that's one issue. The next issue, listen carefully to the hadith. It clearly says, فَلَا يَمْنَعْهَا. He should not say no. He shouldn't prevent her. Totally opposite. So the Prophet says, don't tell her no. And the first part says that she has to seek permission. So, some of the ulama of Islam, they say, is that a husband does not have to allow his wife to go. But it's a good thing. It's recommended. Due to the fact that she has to ask permission. He has the haqq. And other ulama, they say the hadith means the opposite, that when she does ask, and there is no other prior responsibility, and there's no fitna, no perfume, this and that, then he what? It's haram for him to say no. You understand? This is fiqh sunnah, yani fiqh al-hadith. I understand. We're going to stop here, whereas we had a long class tonight. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Hopefully, by Allah's mercy and grace, tomorrow night we'll finish the explanation of the rest of the chapter. Wallahu a'lam.